Welcome to episode 288 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever because we have COD drama already. The game just came out. The league hasn't even been started yet. And already we have some spicy drama to get to in the COD world. Also, First Strike EU drama. So we've already seen some top action happen in EU. Some teams lost, but it doesn't matter. And we'll get to why in just a moment. And of course, some e-news to wrap up the show as well. But before we get to any of that, let's tell you about the show sponsor with Alt Esports, ULT, for those keeping track of how to spell at home. They are the best brand in the world, in the galaxy. The space shuttle that just launched today, they're going to the space station. Rumor is the space station was like, guys, our wardrobe up here sucks. And then they said, we can't have that. We're going to send you Alt. So unconfirmed sources say that they are taking Alt apparel up to the space station right now. Because not only is it the best on the world, it's going to be the best in the universe. And how do you get to the universe? Space. And that's how I am connecting this ad read together. So go to altesports.com, get yourself the best apparel on earth, and now possibly unconfirmed, but prove me wrong, in space. altesports.com.
Hey, this is Daps from Energy. You're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast presented by Alt. This is episode 288, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is November 15th, 2020, and the time is 9:04 p.m. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at the Center Ring and join our Discord. The description or the link is in the description on that for you. Website soon to be back up. I think I finally figured out how to do what I want to do for a website. So stay tuned is all I'm saying there. If you are watching on the stream, we might be having some internet issues today. So you're just going to have to let us know in chat if that seems to be the case, and we'll work with it. But the show must go on. And you can always check it out on the podcast later if it's not working. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, my celebrating Diwali friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
Took the words out of my mouth, dude. Happy Diwali to everybody out there. Anyone that's celebrating it, or if you're not, still happy Diwali to you. No, it was fun weekend. Got to spend a lot of time with family, and man, like a lot of esports going on. So I was doing a lot of watching on my phone, and with you last night. Actually, we got a chance to spend a little time together last night. That was fun as well. But looking forward to this, man. We got a lot of. This is like a drama alert show, is what this is today.
Yeah, and it's like all just kind of happened in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Too. Like it was just going to be normal run of the mill, some yikes. What's funny is a lot of what we're discussing today, the guild esports being DQ'd from First Strike and Sump being fined and his tweets were just going to be yikes of the week. And then it was just like the onion kept peeling. And then it was like, sure enough, by the time time starts, we're like, well, damn. I guess we kind of have to talk about these a lot now, not just a yikes of the week discussion. So it is a juicy episode because we even have yikes of the week to get to. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened in the last 24 hours. We did look, part of being an adult gamer, a gamer dad even, but I will say just adult gaming with, if you're married even, you could probably say this as well. I don't know if you're an adult and you're fully single, you can get away with this being part of this conversation, but definitely if you're married. Sometimes a LAN party means just having one other person over to play video games, and that's okay. That's okay.
That is a LAN party.
It is. I mean, we had a party, and it was local, and we were on the same network. That is a definition of a LAN party.
There was pizza, and you brought balls with you.
And I brought balls.
So I'm not really sure what else you need to define a LAN party at that point.
Yeah, it was great. I had fun, you know?
Yeah.
Back in the day, a LAN party was having 16 people over, and we would play a custom Halo tournament, 4v4s, 2v2s all night. Now it's, squeezing out 3 or 4 hours of Valorant before my wife texts me saying, you said you'd be home 2 hours ago. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess
calling it around 12:30. We're like, all right, we gotta wrap this
yeah,
up.
I guess it's 12:30 now in the morning. Time to hit the hay. Gotta mow the lawn tomorrow. So it was good. It's honestly for sure for the first time since COVID that I was able to kind of get out and just chill, right? And play games. But I think it was the first time since I had my kid that I was able to get out. Because normally DreamHack was going to be that release.
Yeah.
And then DreamHack didn't happen, obviously, because of COVID. And then from there, it's kind of like wife got pregnant. So then you're kind of already heightened awareness. So, yeah, I mean,
DreamHack went from a 3-day event with 10 of us going down there to you and me playing one night for 4 hours.
Yeah, yes. Last night was our DreamHack. And it was glorious. Glorious. Still fun. But yes, we'll have to do that again before baby number 2 or something. Who knows? But fun nonetheless. Played with some listeners and everything, and that's always fun too as well. So also, I feel like we're getting dangerous in Valorant. I feel like we're getting there.
We just got to string some wins together. Like, we've had some unfortunate losses where a lot of DQs, man. You and I talked about this yesterday. It would be nice if somebody left your match for it not to count against you in some way. I understand there's ways to abuse that, so I hate for that to become a thing, but geez, the amount of games where we had somebody disconnect and just not come back for like no apparent reason. It's not like we're getting smacked at the time either. It's like a close
I've
game,
often thought, because if you are someone who rage quits in the middle of a match because you lost a round or you got turned on or whatever, and you rage quit, or if your team sucks and you rage quit, you're also the type of person that doesn't care if you get banned for 30 minutes. Like you're just probably not. So, or if you're a type of person who like, hey, guess what? If you quit, you're going to be queued with a bunch of people who are notorious for quitting as well. So have fun. But again, I couldn't
do that because you can't play with 5 Jets on a team.
Got him. I don't think those people care, because if you're quitting, you ultimately don't care about your rank enough to care that you're playing with other quitters, right? So what they need to do is, rather than make the punishment harsh for the quitters, which you can do that, you need to not punish the people who are left. When I'm left playing with only 4 guys on Haven, like on a 3-bomb map or on a 3-bomb site map, we're playing down a guy, like just call GGs and move on. Like it's done.
4v5 the other day, and we were 4v5 for over 10 rounds.
Yeah, and we won. So, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's just at the same time, like Overwatch does it, where if someone quits after, I think, like, I don't know, a couple minutes, you are free to leave the game, and it won't count against you. Like, I think on your stats, it will count as a loss, but from your MMR, it doesn't affect your MMR. So it's like
all people care about.
Yeah, and like who cares, right? You can give me 1,000 Ls. I don't care if it's not affecting my MMR. So, just food for thought, Riot. If you're listening, just don't punish me because my teammate rage quit and or lagged out. So there you go. Let's get into Yikes of the Week, though, because we actually have a handful to get to just as it developed here. I have one from last week, Anuj. Yikes of the Week, for those who don't know. It's a moment of the week that makes you go, yikes. It's kind of self-explanatory. Cloud9 announced it. Now, you know me. Listeners of the show know me. I am #1 Cloud9 fanboy. Have lots of jerseys. I saw you make a joke one time that I wear my Cloud9 stuff more than my wedding ring. Not wrong. Don't actually wear the wedding ring. Because, I like to keep my options available. And, or it's just, I don't leave the house for 7 months, so who do I need to impress? They announced, though, this new concept called Cloud9 Stratus. Everyone's getting excited. It's like a fan club. So obviously, #1 fanboy should be a part of the Cloud9 fan club. You get all these perks. You get a special Discord invite. You get your title changed in Discord. People know that you're a big deal. I think you get to do special Q&As and meet and greet, quote unquote, online with players and things like that. However, this will cost you a yearly subscription of $500.
That's the insane part, right? Because we do see other subscription services through. Like I think even Envy has one for $20 a month or something like that.
I think theirs is free.
They have a free version.
Oh,
you can
okay.
You can go gold and pay and get exclusive content also. And I get that part of it, like offering your
Well, maybe
diehard
we're the
fans
chumps. Maybe we should have something.
a patron or something.
Yeah. $1,000 and you can listen to TCR.
Like monthly.
Monthly. $1,000 a month. You can get our episodes 12 hours before other people.
Well, I'm going to tell you why this is not a yikes, okay? I'm going to go against the grain on your yikes here.
Whoa.
They have to pay the buyout for perks. And a $5 million buyout can only be paid in one way, and that is fan money. And so, I mean, $500 is a ridiculous amount
That's
for that type.
Stupid amount.
You really got to be in that. I would hope. I don't know what else it offers. I'm assuming it does not offer jerseys, right? You get the new jerseys on release or something. I mean, I just feel like there's got to be more that you're getting. Content is fine, but there's so much free content out there that I don't know that getting some little exclusive interviews and a Discord title is enough for me to do that. So
this is off their website. Stratus is an exclusive annual membership experience built for Cloud9 superfans. Stratus will include a high-value assortment of physical items, digital experiences, and Stratus-only content. Like you said, though, for it to be...
I gotta know what that is.
Yeah.
It better be a New Jersey.
For $500, I better be getting a diamond plaque. Like
some of the Cloud9 Puma shoes or something. I mean, something that's got some real value to it, right? And it can't be just in my mind, one item. It's got to cover half of that cost. Should be in cool gear that maybe you're only giving away to the subscribers. But you're right there. There are also a lot of people out there, Tim, that are just going to want the title on Discord.
Yeah. So here's some of the things it says here. You get a welcome crate. The welcome crate comes with, so let me tell you, this is just the welcome crate.
Okay.
A Stratus edition jersey. It's like a gray looking Cloud9 jersey. A Cloud9 Stratus shirt that says Stratus on it, which is only to flex on people. That's just to let people know you paid $500, right?
Yeah.
There's
so
no...
You don't really care for the Stratus title. You want the Cloud9.
Yeah. You just want people to see there. Custom Cloud9 keycaps, which... If they sold these separately for $25, I'd probably get those, to be honest with you. I'm not going to do $500 though just to get that. And a mystery crate. A mystery crate it shows shoes, hats, t-shirts, things like that. So
maybe we hold off and wait till somebody posts everything that they got in this crate. And let's see, but you got to be a diehard for $500. You really got to be you got to be willing to shell out some cash for that.
Is I don't want to hear anybody, an org, a pro, anyone in esports cry anymore about how it's just so hard to make money and the pros are getting ripped off for money. When I look around and you got Cloud9 charging people $500 a year for exclusive shirts that say Stratus on it. You have pros walking around and casters, which I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are, who have no business walking around in Gucci shoes, and they got their Supreme fanny packs on. Like, they're walking around in, no joke, like $3,000 worth of clothes, and in the same breath being like, huh, I can't believe I'm getting undercut for a job. How is a caster supposed to eat around here? You don't buy Gucci slippers. That's how you eat. Like, really.
Yeah, the whole undercutting thing, you know, again, something we talked about off air. You just kind of feel like the big boys and girls kind of forget where they came from and how hard it is to get your foot into the door. And sometimes that does require you to, when we say like know your value, I don't think they're necessarily undercutting themselves. Like, they understand their value and
Right.
they have to take less and a lot less in a lot of instances.
I'll
to get
tell you
some of
this
these
right
gigs.
now. I love all the casters. All of them. All the guests on the show. We have friends that are casters. I'm undercutting all your asses. TCR will work for a Stratus t-shirt.
Not even the jersey.
Not the jersey, just the t-shirt if it gets us in. A coupon to the concession stands at the event. That's what we need. That's what we need. All right, let's move on to one of your yikes of the week. We actually have quite a bit to get to.
Yeah, the next one here, I have two of them, Tim, related to Twitch. So
Okay.
maybe I just go back to back and kind of
just lump
pump them out and put them all together here. So recently, everyone knows about the DMCA controversy with Twitch. Everyone has to essentially go in and delete their VODs because of music and these publishers coming down on them hard for, all the stuff that they're playing on stream, which up until now, Twitch hasn't really let these individuals know, like, hey, this could be a big issue down the line. And I feel like as a company that has partners, right? These are all their partners. Partner means you're working in tandem. You should be giving this type of advice, especially to your big streamers who've been on the platform 3, 4, 5, 6+ years now, who have thousands of videos. Well, all these guys have to go in and start deleting all their content, right? All this history just being erased if they're not storing it, which in a lot of cases they're probably not, because there's so much out there.
Yep.
They're having to go in and delete everything.
Like we said, we've talked about that before. It's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Twitch probably should have let you know.
Should have been both sides, right? Like, you as the creator should have probably looked into that a little bit deeper, and Twitch should have been there as more of a consultant in that role, letting you know that this could be an issue. So recently, Tim, Twitch came out and said, hey, we have an idea, way to kind of avoid some of this stuff. And I'm sure the people were out there were like, oh, good, you're going to give us a feature to like go in and find the content that's being flagged. Nope, that's not it. Ooh, okay, you're going to give us some kind of tools to sort this out and to maybe save it on a database or some kind of cloud storage for this content. Nope, that's not it. Just mute all your in-game music that's going on. Anything in-game that has talking in it, just mute it. Close it, turn it off, shut it down. That's not how this works in this world, okay, guys? Like, that's unfortunately the advice that you're giving is just not helpful. And it's continuously backfired on them. Again, I'm kind of waiting almost for the downfall of Twitch, because it's just always
for that
something.
Too. They even came back and like said like, we goofed on that suggestion, guys. Like, it's bad when like someone from the higher up, like a supervisor, was like, Twitch support. Who tweeted this out? Who's told them to do this?
Who's in charge of social media here? Like, this was just bad advice, wasn't helpful advice. And so that's just to me an easy yikes, because this came out, people were like, obviously went nuts commenting on this stuff, and it's just shitty advice. So don't follow that. Let's find other solutions here and work with publishers to find a solution that works for everyone. The bigger rant that I have, Tim, and this is not even a yikes really so much, it's just a rant when it comes to Twitch rivals. We're seeing Twitch rivals for everything, right? And I get it. It's popular. It's fun. Like, you see it for Warzone. You see a bunch for like true esports games, I should say. A lot of Twitch rivals for general esports games. And now we're kind of seeing it move into what we would consider party games, right? And that would be Among Us, um, as well as what was
Fall
this other game?
Guys.
Fall Guys, right? So Fall Guys. So the Fall Guys drama took place with XQC out here, um, stream sniping to prevent Lupo from advancing in one of the rounds. Among Us kind of has its own drama going on. My yikes here is we are trying to push these way too hard to be competitive when they're like built for like social games. And you can say what you want to that opinion. I know there's two sides to it. I just don't like how we're like pushing all these fun party games to like now it's got to be a competitive, and you have all these people ranking who are the best Among Us players, and who's the best Fall Guy player. Give me a freaking break.
Let me
That's
tell
not
you,
what
there are two sides to this Twitch rival debate. Of whether or not they're like legit competitive games, and if it would be considered like, oh, it's just Twitch rivals. It's like esports, right? Okay, there are two sides to it. The right side that says, no, it's not an esports. This is just advertising for Twitch and their own streamers just to have some fun. And then there's the wrong side who says, yes, it is competitive and it should be looked at as a normal esport event. I saw this on the esports subreddit, which is trash, by the way, the worst source for esports out on the internet. And some guy honestly tried arguing with me that Twitch rivals should be taken serious as any other, like it was like I think Valorant. It was the Valorant Twitch rivals should be taken as serious as any other Valorant event. And I'm like, you are an idiot. An idiot.
There's not even over 50% of the people in those matches are not pros, they're streamers. There's a difference for people that don't get that. A pro streamer is not a professional player. They're a content
Sorry,
creator,
Dr. Disrespect.
So, yeah, well, you get that, right? Like, you get what I'm
Yes.
saying. Hey, Doc's a two-time world champion.
He is.
Okay? So
He
Doc
is.
an esports legend. I don't.
But
even
he
wanna
also
go there.
said professional gamers and esports professionals are the same thing.
Did he really say that?
Yes.
See, that's
Now, I
disappointing.
don't know if that's in... For him, you always take it with a grain of salt, because is it in character or not, right? Like, did he say it as Dr.
Is
Disrespect?
he referencing himself only now, or is he talking about everybody?
I don't know.
You know,
Is he
again,
saying it as Dr. Disrespect, the character, or is he saying this as the guy behind the mask? I don't know, but...
like, I watched a video of Shroud getting upset at this whole XQC thing that's posted all over the place, and like, I've loved Shroud's stream for a long time. I do get annoyed with like the amount of rants he goes on of why Warzone is not good anymore, and why, and maybe it's just how they clip all this stuff to kind of show it. But it's like, dude, let some of this stuff just be what it is. Like, Among Us is a casual party game. Fall Guys, casual
Yes, but
party
without
game.
Twitch drama, what would Dexerto write about?
They not much.
Richard Lewis
It
articles.
wouldn't
That's
have
about
all the
it.
tabs on top. It would just be like one tab saying highlights. But no, I mean, so not so much of a yikes on the Twitch rival stuff. It's just a yikes on the opinions that I see being tossed out to
It's supposed
say
to
these
be
are all
fun.
like these are esports events. They're not.
Right.
It's
They're
just- it's
fun
not.
events that streamers get together to help spread like their audience around, I would think. Right. So
That's it.
it's just to have fun with Twitch. Chill the fuck out. My last yikes of the week comes from earlier in the week, which might not have been a yikes had things gone differently, but there was a reported hostage situation at Ubisoft's Montreal office. Lots of jokes flew around the internet, which I chuckled at, right? New Assassin's Creed, is it that bad? People must be upset about Rainbow Six Siege, blah, blah, blah. All good and fun. Well, it turned out, and it was weird. Now, first off, can I pat myself on the back, Anuj? Can I give myself credit? You know me. You know me. I'm not a guy who likes to gloat or anything.
I'm like very curious where this is going.
On Discord, someone posted on our Discord saying like, whoa, check this out. And I was reading the article, and I even said on Discord, yeah, this seems a bit weird though, because like the employees barricaded themselves on the roof. They're sitting here tweeting about it, and they're like, yep, at the office, about to go home. Like they were just casually tweeting about like, hey guys, yeah, isn't this crazy? LOL, hostage situation at work. Turns out the whole thing was a hoax. Now, who set it up? That would require me to follow up the story, which
That's not how this works.
That's not how Yikes of the Week works. I don't care about the end results. The Yikes was a hoax to begin with, and maybe just
pretty shitty hoax though.
Maybe some guy just had to take like an extra long dump and he was going to get in trouble, or someone wanted a third smoke break.
Do you think it was like an internal that set this whole thing up?
I mean,
they should know who it is just by looking at the guy that was playing it like Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's breaking down walls to peek through and you know, like barricading up doors with things around the office. Like that's probably the guy that set it up.
Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, apparently it was all just a hoax. And like I said though, even while it was going on, I even said in Discord, I was like, doesn't seem like a normal hostage situation.
And this got like national attention.
Oh, I mean, it's a hostage situation. Yeah. Like they had SWAT team. They had, Canada's version of a SWAT team, which I assume is like Mountaineers on Moose or something. Like Montreal Canadiens showed up with their hockey pads on to fight people. It was just,
everyone was apologizing.
Yeah. All they did was bring in some maple syrup and everyone was okay. So no, it was just all a hoax. Nothing to see here, folks.
Well, glad everyone's okay.
Yeah, I guess in the end, that's what's important. What else is important is Valorant First Strike. EU has finished its first leg. Is this the first leg for UMG?
This is like the AB playoffs.
Dougie says he's offended in chat about our Canadian jokes. First off, I'm from Michigan, which is pretty much Canada to people in Texas. So my wife actually thought I was Canadian up until the point, like 2 months in our relationship of actually dating. She was like, wait, you're not Canadian? And I'm like, wait, you thought I was Canadian? She's like, well, you play hockey. I'm like, well, okay, I guess I checked off all the boxes.
Hey, I do like my Tim Hortons. So.
Yeah, give me those.
Some great hot chocolate from there. Enjoyed it. It was Niagara Falls, beautiful, on your side. So you got the better view, I feel. So that's a win.
So I guess that's all you need. All right, so Valorant EU First Strike ended up wrapping up. I think it's like the same on how it's working on the NA side, which we discussed last episode. You kind of need connecting the dots to kind of follow along with how they're going. But the big thing here is the teams that ended up moving on to qualify: G2, Team Liquid, Fun Plus Phoenix. Is it Sump?
That's what we'll go with.
It's a FC club, so I don't know how to say that one. I think it's one of the soccer team sponsored orgs and things like that. SUMN.
It's like it was all making sense when you were listing the names going down until you hit that one.
Yeah, and then it's some European team over there. So I will say this. First things first, before we get to the drama with G2, I ended up sitting down to watch the Team Liquid Prodigy map. First off, had no idea Happy was playing Valorant.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see him like back in the fold, and their team was good. Like they performed well, but it's cool to see a lot of these names because we're not watching a ton of EU Valorant. Just like honestly speaking, it's time differential makes it difficult in a lot of cases, but it has been nice to see it's having the same effect in EU, right? Like a lot of names that we're used to seeing are popping up on different teams and forming out there. So,
well,
so
especially with that one, you had Scream on Liquid, Happy on was it Prodigy is the team he's on right now, which is that an org or is that them?
I don't know if that is I mean, they have like, it's funny because it's like they have an official logo, so maybe,
right.
Like they have a
But are they
logo.
also free agents? I'm not sure. But it was nice because Scream top fragged for Liquid. He was popping off. Happy was popping off. He had some clutch plays. Honestly, kind of felt bad for Happy at certain points because there were times with Raze, I mean, he would get double, triple kills entering the site, and then it would just his teammates behind him were falling apart. Now, I will say this, and I do think it's important because when you look at the scoreboard, right, it doesn't tell the full story. Because when Happy, this is all maps, the match included top frag for his team with 46 kills. The next was Hoodie with 29 kills, and then it dropped from there, obviously. When someone like that, though, is popping off, those are less kills just naturally for the other person to get at. So, like, if you're looking at the bottom fraggers and you're thinking, wow, these guys suck, well, no, it's just Happy was hogging all the kills.
Yeah, I mean, he dropped 30 in the first map, and the next closest was 15, right? Like, I mean, it was half the amount. That went the distance. That went 13-11 on Ascent there. Little different story, obviously, for Split. You know, Liquid was able to pull away and more so
Boy,
than you would expect.
Ascent should not. That should have gone to overtime. I wish I could pull it up here for the 23rd round. They should have had it. That was one where, like I said, Happy I think got like a double or triple kill that round, and then the team just. It was who was it? It was I want to say Link was in the back of B.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest pug move I've ever seen. Like, I was watching Prodigy, and like I thought I was watching one of our own VODs from our gold match pugs, because I'm 99% sure it was Link. I could be wrong, but someone on Liquid was in the back of bomb site on B, and Prodigy, the entire team, just single filed right towards him. Like, Happy had his
threw one nade over there.
Yeah, Happy threw like the weakest nade, like, you know where he's at. Happy threw a nade. It didn't go in. It hit the wall to the outside, so it was unaffected. Like, it didn't do anything to move the guy. And then from there, they just walked single file into the back, just like, oh, hey, hello, sir. Would you like to headshot me so you could clutch the round? It was like a 4v1, and they whiffed.
But that was probably the best match that we saw was that pairing, right? Now, obviously, there other drama we'll get into in a minute, but Fun Plus, again, proves themselves to be one of the more dominant teams. And those are at least our first 4 advancing from the EU side.
So, to get to the drama here with G2 qualifying, they ended up beating NIP 2-0 in the quarterfinals to obviously qualify. That's not the story. Who cares about that? The story is in the round of 16 when Guild Esports, ended up defeating G2. Okay. So, fast forward from that. Everyone was astounded. Carlos ended up kind of going on a salty Twitter rant about the format and how it's a joke that one of the biggest events for Valorant thus far has random seedings and it's a single elimination. And I'm 99% sure he ended up deleting those tweets. Look, I get it. You might not like the format, but like we said, we personally like for a big tournament, I think this is a fun format. You can't do double eliminations, or this thing would be in qualifiers until we find a cure for Corona at this rate.
And even BO3s, like, it would just take, a long time. You have multiple chances to qualify, so it's not like getting eliminated at this stage in the tournament means you're done for the tournament.
Right, which we'll see on NA when we talk about them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the teams in NA that did end up qualifying lost multiple or three chances, right? They finally qualified on their 3rd chance of qualifying. So it's not just a single elimination tournament, right? But I think that's just Carlos being a little salty. Fast forward, though, to the next day, Riot has announced that Guild Esports has been disqualified from the event for abusing a bug. And in the rules, anything that is clearly not intended to be there is considered a bug. If you have questions, ask a referee beforehand and say, hey, we were going to do this. Is it okay? And then they would tell you yes or no. So that's Riot's ruling on what you can or can't do when regards
like
to a bug.
Very broad stance to take on it, right?
Yes.
Like anything, like in the situation that we're about to discuss with Gilded, like the only thing that they could have done to prevent this, if they truly didn't think this was a glitch, right, is ask a referee before the match starts in private, like, hey, is this something that would get us DQ'd? But we're talking about one round in a 13-10 game here, so kind of keep that in mind.
Yes. So now that they're disqualified, G2 is taking their spot and moving on. So this is where the drama is getting into play, because people are saying, well, hold up. G2 was using the Dragon...
Elder Flame,
whatever it's actually called. The Elder Flame, the Dragon Skin AK. What the fuck's it called?
Vandal.
Vandal.
Yeah.
Ah, blanket.
You're good. You're good. You're going all over the place.
the Vandal. And that does have a glitch into it. It causes audio glitches and things like that. So you're technically not supposed to use it, but they did. Okay. So this is where we have run into a rock and a hard place between the group of people that love to say rules are rules, right? So, oh, well, rules are rules. Guild broke it. It's clearly a bug and you aren't supposed to do that. Now, I do agree with that.
Well, let's talk about what they did, just so we can let
Oh,
the
okay,
listener
yes.
know
I'm sorry. I'm
exactly
getting
what
ahead
they
of
did.
myself.
So what Gil did in this case is on Ascent on defense, they used an illegal boost with Sage and Killjoy, where Killjoy places her turret down. Sage is then able to place a wall on top of the turret, allowing you to look over, more into the spawn
like B
side.
main, it's
Yeah. You can look through the little cubby where you can throw
like,
nades and stuff.
If
through
you've
and
never
see
played the game, just know it would be a wild advantage to have this. And it's also, I will say, clearly not intended. Like, clearly you are not supposed to be able to do this.
No, I mean, you're not supposed to be able to do it, but I also feel like there's a lot of different ways to like bug the game out when it comes to like the walls and things of that sort. Like there's just a ton of that in there. So this is something that's been around since Killjoy came out. Like it's not new. So you almost wonder, did they not know it was a bug, or is it like, are you supposed to be able to do it like that? Why haven't they patched it if you shouldn't be able to do it like that?
And that's where I also think, like, with those, they didn't do any, what I would consider major game-breaking mechanic to make it work. You place the wall on the turret and it pops them up if they're standing on the wall. It's not like you had to okay, now line up at this pixel. Okay, and at this pixel, when I jump, in exactly 0.4 seconds, hit the wall, and then I will crouch, and then that will allow me to then get on the wall. It's like, it wasn't anything like that. It wasn't like how Jet can jump and get stuck in a corner and kind of float in the air. Have you seen those?
Yeah, like Omen teleporting into walls and things like that.
Those are clearly
really obvious bugs.
Yes, hey, you're pixel walking. You're standing on a pixel that you're not supposed to stand on. Clearly you're not supposed to teleport into a wall, see through the wall, things like that. That's where I think the gray area is, and I think maybe for the first time say, hey, we're not, technically G2, you did use a gun you weren't supposed to, or a skin you weren't supposed to. Guild, you did this. We're calling it even. Guild, you won anyways. Because like you said, it was one round. It was one round in a match that G2 ended up losing. So it wasn't like this, crazy,
well,
like they
losing
just
by 3, right?
Like
that's important to note, is that they lost by 3. And granted, that's a very close game overall, but I don't know if I would have gone as far as to DQ them. Like this could have been a very stern warning.
That's what I think it should have been. In my opinion, and I get it. Rules are rules, and they broke the rules. But again, why is one rule of doing this different than G2's breaking a rule of using a skin? And I saw arguments on Reddit where they were like, well, it's because a skin is just a mistake. It's just a simple mistake. He just forgot to take it off. Well, I mean, he knows what skin is on. You're telling me
it's
that
hidden. You can see what you have equipped.
Right. It's not like you have random skin selected and the game just randomly selects the skin. He can, or even in the first round, he could have said oops, guys, I have the skin attached. Can we just restart real quick? And then all of a sudden they restart, pick the same characters, and move on before any harm is done, right? Yeah. It could have been avoided, and that's where I would say to the rules, there's a rule crowd, not every rule. And I also think, and I truly, truly do believe this, if Guild Esports did this against, let's just pick one of these teams, Purple Cobras, or Need More DM, or I'm just picking out what looks to be
anybody not named Liquid or G2.
Yeah, if they did this to Prodigy, right? this would not have happened. It would have been a warning at that point in time. But because they did it to G2, yeah, Riot's going to enforce it because, gee, what's going to get us the more views? Guild Esports or G2? Like, they want G2. G2 getting
the only
eliminated.
way Guild Esports is getting more views is David Beckham's in the starting lineup right now. Like, that's the only way.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're paying him enough. He should be in the starting lineup for what he's getting paid for. But I do feel bad for Guild Esports because they are a newer org. They already got into the scene on the wrong foot, getting made fun of for the David Beckham story and everything there. And for this to happen and it ultimately be like, I feel like this happens more often than not, where it is just a warning at the end of the day. But because this was G2, which is a top EU team, if not the top team in the world for Valorant, according to some, they want them to move on for viewership and to qualify. So it sucks.
I think this is more just a blame of the rules, the way they're written. It's very vague.
Also,
if you got to ask an admin about 10 different strats before a match, like that's also not really realistic to ask the players to.
And it falls into the what scenario was it recently, Anuj? Was it in Valorant or was it in? It was like a well-known bug that was in the game.
Coaching bug?
Yeah, the coaching bug, where it's like Valve knew about it. So it's like, okay, Riot's known about this bug forever now. Like, how hard can it be to be like, hey, the wall cannot be built on the turret?
On top, yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
I'm no game designer, but I can't imagine if you've built this entire game to its entirety, this is just stumping the development team.
Like, if this was the first time anyone had ever seen this boost, okay, sure, like, maybe they didn't know about it, but there's no excuse because they have known about it for quite some time. So you assume it's going to be patched now because it's caused.
Oh, well, that's how that works, right?
Yeah, like
that's
a little late here.
They haven't figured out Da Vinci's code for 4 months, but now they're like, oh, it just came to us. We know how to fix this.
And I'm definitely rooting for Guild Esports, in the next qualifier because you want to see them. You want to see them get through because who knows with how they were playing. There's a good chance they could have taken that game over NIP. NIP got smacked by G2 in the following match. So I say smacked, relatively close, but still they lost 2-0. So yeah, gonna be rooting for them going forward. That's unfortunate, but we do have four people advancing, 4 teams advancing with still a handful of qualifiers. I believe there's 2 qualifiers left to go on the EU side.
Now, jumping over across the pond, as they say, to the NA side for First Strike, we did have the UMG Open Qualifiers number 2 wrap up. So again, how I said, you almost need a roadmap to figure out these qualifiers. So last episode, we discussed Open Qualifier number 1. If you lost in number 1, then you could go and try your hand in Open number Qualifier 2. So that's where we are at right now, which, of course, kind of speed things along here. The teams that ended up qualifying here, you had Gen G, the Pittsburgh Knights. Very cool to see them qualify, considering it's, this is like their first venture, right? They're newly acquired team, so it's always good to see when an org can pick up a team and actually have success. So congrats to Pittsburgh Knights on that. FaZe Clan, who ended up having actually been pretty poor as of late in general. Good to see that they had a relatively, I want to say easy, but no real scare going in, and so they ended up qualifying. Luminosity.
NRG would be the team that you would believe would have put up the fight, right? Like, because that was considered the toughest matchup in the UMG qualifier number 2, and FaZe was able to beat them 2-1. And I just want to give a shout out to Baby Bay because he had one of the more incredible games. If you haven't seen it, it was a 13-3 win on map 3 on Ascent. He was 28-6. The next person had 11 kills, but he just shut him down with Jet. Really impressive performance there by him.
And in the consolation qualifiers, so these teams also have qualified, is Serenity, and NRG finally has redemption as they are able to qualify. So a big weight lifted off, I think, NRG shoulders, as we discussed in previous episodes. Like, they've just been kind of meh since signing as a team. So it's good to see, hopefully, that they can kind of take this and build some confidence and go with it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen with that squad right now. They've gotten in on the last of the last chance qualifiers to make it in. And look, maybe they make a crazy run, but even the way they were playing against who was it? Like Beast mode, something like that.
Beast Coast.
Yeah, Beast Coast. Even that match looked like was a match that they were going to drop there, and they were able to squeak through. So we do have our final 16, I believe, in place for the UMG closed qualifier, which again leads to the main event. NA. The closed qualifiers from the 18th to the 22nd, that'll determine the remaining 4 teams to make it over to the main event, who have Envy, 100 Thieves, Renegades, and Sentinels waiting on them. So the closed qualifier is going to be some fantastic Valorant. So if you haven't had a chance to watch, what's going on, this is a good stage to hop in on. A lot of recognizable teams, a lot of recognizable names. Really going to be some good Valorant in this next stage here.
And I mean, surely you expect like Cloud9, TSM, these guys to step up. T1, even though I've been off that bandwagon for a while now, I'm just not a believer in T1. Interested to see where Moon Raccoons lands, just because, again, they're one of these newer teams. You look at the roster, very young in that sense. So looking at them, there are a lot of storylines going into the closed qualifiers for UMG. So that starts up on Wednesday.
Definitely a toss-up for who's going to make it out. Like, I know you mentioned a couple of names that
I think the only ones, like TSM and Cloud9, are the only ones where you're like, if they don't make it, then like sound the alarms. But every other team on there, it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, this could go any way. Like Anbox is in there, and Anbox has been playing incredibly well. So I just think it's anyone's game. TSM and Cloud9, you expect to make it. All right, so let's get into some other drama in a different scene, and that's the Call of Duty drama. No drama like Call of Duty drama in esports. Like, there's just nothing like it. We had a listener ask in Discord, hey, I'm trying to get caught up and get into Call of Duty. Where's a good place? I said, first off, the #1 esports podcast, us. Number 2, the COD competitive subreddit, because they actually do a pretty good job of keeping up with the drama. And my God, there's a lot of it. So, of course, everyone knows Cold War just came out, like a week ago or a couple days ago, right? Couple days ago. And Anuj and I do not have it. We both refunded it because the beta was okay, to say at best.
We'll get into that a little bit more, because there's part of Scump's tweets is part of the reason why we're also done.
We're putting our foots down.
Yeah.
And so a lot of pros, obviously pros grind it out. They're putting more hours into it than anyone else. And so Scump, now of OpTic Chicago, was tweeting a little bit, just kind of getting off his frustrations and things like that. Some of his tweets included, let's see, I don't have, these aren't word for word, but one was...
I have it if you want me to...
Oh, if you have the word for word in front of you, then yeah, go ahead.
So... he discusses his fine. Is that the one you're talking about? Like, he has the fine tweet.
I don't know what order they came into, because I'm just looking at, as I'm seeing on Twitter. The first tweet that I saw is when he was complaining about no matchmaking, and then the one developer guy responded to him.
Yes, okay. That tweet, we can paraphrase that one because it's a little longer, but he's basically saying, I can't believe there's no Call of Duty ever comes out with a ranked playlist on launch. Like, why is that not a staple feature in a competitive shooter? And Vondahar, the guy that runs Treyarch, I mean, hugely respected, okay? So it's not like we're saying that Treyarch is like a shitty developer. They're probably the best out of all the Call of Duty developers, quite frankly.
Not saying much.
But Vondahar did respond to his tweet and said, hey, let me reword that for you and thank me later. I know that was part of the tweet. I don't know the exact wording of the rest of it, but basically he said we're working hard. Um, you know, it kind of expect to see this at some point, but we're working hard and
Yeah, it says,
thank
let
you
me
for
reword it, and I'm thankful for all the hard work that the men and women are putting in to get us a ranked playlist. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, because at first when I read his tweet, I was like, what an asshole. Like, what a cocky asshole to come in here and being like, you should thank us for working so hard to get you a ranked playlist. And then I was about to go like on a rant. But then I'm like, I think that's kind of tongue in cheek so he doesn't get fined.
I think that's what it was.
I think, and I think some people on Twitter got mad at him thinking what I thought at first. But then I was like, actually, no, now that I reread it, I think he was doing a tongue in cheek of like, you're about to get fined, so let me reword it for you.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it was. It was, hey, let me reword this for you so you don't get fined.
Yeah, because at first I was like, bro.
Which is what leads to some of the following tweets, obviously.
Yes. So go ahead.
So, another tweet that came out then, he goes, I haven't spoken of this publicly really, but I was fined for playing Raid Shadow Legends during a sponsored stream. It was during the off season as well, which makes it worse. My channels are my channels. I should be able to do as I please, but apparently I can't.
And this is where it really kicks off, because he's been fined now for here. I'm pretty sure he said he was fined for the ranked play tweet even, and things like that. And that's not breaking news. Like we even saw this last year where CDL was fining guys for saying things.
Everything.
Yeah.
Anything. Said anything and you were getting fined. So before we run through like a list of, because there's a couple more tweets that come up here, before we just kind of run through all of them and forget what we just discussed, first, I just want to say I'm 100% in agreement with him on how is there not a ranked playlist in Call of Duty at launch.
100%.
Okay? It's a big reason why Tim and I did not buy the game at launch is we play for the ranked playlist. We play to compete, I should say, right? It's not the ranked playlist that I care about. I don't even really care if I'm using the same things that the pros are using. I really don't. Like if that was part of it, that would be great. But if they were just like, hey, here's a ranked playlist and we have a little bit more stuff available, like we're not using the GAs that the pros use, for example,
right.
I would be okay with it. We've seen it before, but to not have it on launch is like such a disappointment because this time I feel like people were more vocal going into the launch of this game saying, hey, like you should really have this because SBMM sucks balls and this is a easy solution and still have your SBMM if you want it, but then at least give us a ranked playlist so we can grind and ranked if we want to do that. So I get that, Vandahar was saying it tongue in cheek, but I don't agree with that stance, like in the sense of, give us time, we'll have it in a future.
And that's why I think I was jumping off. I jumped off sides, right? Because when he was like, for all the hard work we're doing to give you a ranked playlist, like people are acting like they're reinventing the wheel to get this ranked playlist out. You've had ranked play in previous CODs, not at launch, but they're there, right? You have plenty of games. Hell, even games that are indie developed games having ranked playlists at launch. You have what supposedly, in your opinion, is the world's most advanced, fair, skill-based matchmaking in unranked play. But you're telling me you just don't know how to even comprehend putting in a ranked playlist at the start? Like, how could we ever do a ranked playlist where, God forbid, you get one positive KD ratio, and now you're in the highest tier skill-based matchmaking? Have fun with that. Like, I don't buy that for a second.
The only thing I could see is like, hey, we're going to release ranked 2 weeks or 1 month after the start, but I feel like then you should like mention that, right? Like that information should be out there, because why take all the hate and the negative feedback that you're going to receive from SBMM and not having a ranked playlist? Like, why take all of that if you know you're going to have it out really soon? Might as well just announce it so people are mentally prepared. That just leads me to believe that it's not ready. And just like we see with every other COD, I'm sure we'll get it at some point. Like I do believe Treyarch to be one of the better developers and will release a ranked playlist. But what I don't want to see is this come out like in the middle of the Call of Duty season, like 3 or 4 months after the game has been out. People have started losing interest. So it's just the sweats that are left playing the game at that. When I say that, like in a ranked mode, right? Everyone's going to be
Right.
playing Warzone. I'm not talking about Warzone, guys. But like only the sweats are going to be left playing multiplayer at that point. And so that just irks me. So, anyways, on to his next part. Obviously, of the sponsored streams and him getting fined for it, shit move on CDL's part. That is his channel. It's in the off season. I get it if you tell them during the season, like we don't want you doing paid streams for other games. Okay, that's somewhat acceptable during the season. But off season on his own channel, like F that. That
Yeah.
is a shitty, sleazy move.
A footnote on this too is that Scump also tweeted out that they approached the players before Minnesota of last season and made them sign this agreement before they could really get any lawyers or anyone to look at it. And it stated like you can't. Do you have the details there?
I have this. That's the next tweet I'm going into. The CDL says this is again tweet from Scump right after all of this other stuff. The CDL also made us sign a player contract in front of them without allowing us to run it by our lawyers at the player summit. It was a sign it now or you can't play at Minnesota type exchange. I'm probably going to get fined for this too, but just letting y'all know.
And Siegel, former Overwatch League player, said, yeah, Overwatch tried doing the same with us. I didn't sign it. We walked, which might actually explain Siegel's quick and what I thought random leaving of the Overwatch League. That could explain that now. If they were trying to get him to sign and he was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Also a fun note of that, and you might have said it, where they can't talk bad about the game. Like they cannot talk shit about Call of Duty, which, listen, I'm going to say this right now to any Call of Duty developers out there. Your game is shit. By definition, if I had to check off boxes, on one side saying sucked and not sucked about your games, sucked would be more checked, okay? It's just there's enough not sucked boxes checked to have the game fun and people keep playing it because it's Call of Duty, right? But for really a game that comes out every single year, like people play it at this point because it's just ingrained in their DNA, but you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not creating some new mechanic. For the most part, it's the same thing every year, but you repaint it. You give it a new facelift and move on. So don't act like you just built the Mona Lisa and it's just so perfect. How could anyone talk bad about it? Even if no one's talking bad about it, we all know it, right? Like, we all know the issues with Call of Duty. No game is perfect. That being said...
there are like too many diehard fans for people to come out and straight up admit that. They'll be like, oh, it's amazing. No, it's a good game with a lot of flaws.
Yes, it's fun. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's a fun game. Just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it's not fun, right? There are a lot of games out there that are... And it's funny, too, because, like, Adam from former MLG, now Esports Engine, came and said, like, it is amazing. And we've talked about it on the show, too. Before you could have games like Halo 2, who only had 5 patches total for the life of the game, it is amazing how those, like, just were so out of the box, you know, for the most part, like, balanced and nothing overpowered and things like that. So it is crazy. Like, I get it. And I also understand in the world of Call of Duty, like the development cycle kind of forces you to not have a perfect game. Like I'm sure there's a lot of things as a game developer you want to do, but you also know you are on like one of the tightest time schedules in all of video games, right? Like you are supposed to be doing this in a couple year window.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Usually 2 to 3 years. So.
Right. But if from a league standpoint, from a developer standpoint, you also probably have like one of the safest investment in esports. Like got people who play like Scump, Clayster, Crim6, even younger people, Shotzi, Illy, Simp. These guys, they're not going to another game. They are Call of Duty players through and through. They have played through enough iterations of your game that they have loved and enough that they have hated. They are not all of a sudden and not convincing anyone to not play Call of Duty. If Scump tweets out saying, this is crap that there's no matchmaking, why isn't there a matchmaking, what a joke, there's not one single follower on his friends list going, he's right, I'm done with Call of Duty. Still love OpTic, still love Scump, but I am not playing Call of Duty. That's not how this works.
They might join in on the bitching, but they're gonna go load up the game.
But they're gonna go play. So for them to like try to silence that or to fine it, it's just, I mean, A, that's going to get out that you're doing it. Just be real. There's no way you're gonna get the players.
I don't think they thought it would get out from somebody like Scump though. Like I think him saying this has a lot more power than anybody we've seen to date. And that's including people like Slasher. You know, Crim6 is very vocal. Clayster is very vocal. It's not Scump. Like there's still a different level of fame when it comes to Call of Duty. And Scump is, you know, he's king when it comes to that. So I think this coming from him is incredibly meaningful. I do think the situation that he's saying that he was put in Summit is a little over exaggerated because I can tell you right now, Scump was going to play in Minnesota. Regardless of what they told him, he was going to play in Minnesota. Right? Like, he's like, I'm taking this back to my lawyers.
I feel bad for the players in that sense because Scump and these guys have been around long enough to know, and we've heard it from so many people in the industry, don't sign something without your lawyers looking at it, right? And from these guys who are in a franchise league now, I almost kind of put that on the team owners as well to not go to the league and be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're making my players sign what without doing what? Like, no, we're not doing this. And then what? So in Minnesota, I don't know the teams that were there, but let's say Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta, Minnesota, whatever, the teams that were there don't sign this. 3 teams just aren't going to play that weekend. And then the league's just going to say, sorry, these guys can't play. And the fans are going to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're just not playing. Never going to ask why, though. No, they would come out and say they wanted us to sign this, a contract, without getting lawyers to look at it. Sorry, you get paid too much. Your org has paid too much money to get into the league just to completely wipe your hands of responsibility and say, hey, the league were bullies and they made us sign this because we weren't going to play. What you do is you don't play.
There's more to that story, I feel, that we're just not getting, because I just find that very hard to believe that that was the scenario that was presented to him. Maybe they did feel pressured into signing him. Signing the contract
100%.
at that point in time. I don't doubt that, but I do think they could have walked away from the table and been like, hey, I'm going to show this to my lawyer, and we'll even get back to you within 24 hours if we have to, but I need somebody to look at this.
I'm going to play this weekend. Don't worry. I won't tweet anything. Like, we're good.
Yeah, like there's just no way. So this was followed up. There was a tweet that followed this all up that I thought was rather interesting. So Crim6 from Dallas Empire tweeted out 59 out of 60. Irony in the first degree has been committed. And Scump responded, I literally just told Clay I'm in. And I'm just going to kind of read this real quick. Crim's replies with good, let's reach the solution now without getting our pockets ran. And Scump's final tweet here, the reason I originally declined was because I was barely told anything about it. We can be friends on this one. What he is referring to here is there was discussions before the season started to unionize before 2021. And Scump was the only player to not, I guess, agree with what they were trying to accomplish there. And he said he felt like he didn't have enough information, but he had changed his mind. I feel like that's a very unique situation to be in where you're 1 of 60. Like, you're the only person that was like, no, this is a bad idea, so it doesn't go down. Like, that's really disappointing to know that. And look,
the irony too, though, like fast forward to now, that is
if that's
pure
how it
irony.
went down, if that's how it went down, then honestly, the situation that he was in, like, he deserves to be in the sense of, like, you deserve what happened to you if you were the only person to say, hey, let's not like find a way to make sure we're properly represented at the table here. And so it's good to see that he is on board with that. Looking at their conversation, it seems like he's very much on board with that. But that's again, it just shows there's more to all of these discussions than what we're just reading in these simple tweets. Like you don't want to buy it all at face value because there's a lot more happening here. And again, I still feel like Scump could have walked away from the negotiating table at any point and he still would have played in that opening weekend. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if this alters some of our votes, Tim, for some mismanagement stuff of the year, but there's definitely some late entries coming into the esports awards show right now.
I mean, here, I'm just looking at Minnesota.
You had Dallas and Chicago there for sure because Dallas got
So
smoked
wow,
on
the
that
teams that I
opening
said were
round.
actually there. Dallas, Chicago, FaZe, Minnesota. I mean, you had Florida. You had the top half of the league there. If they just said no, league relationship for that moment in time going before any play happened. So if you felt uncomfortable, I guess it's all easier said than done, but you just don't play. Like, the league is going to look worse in that situation, I would feel like, in my eyes. And like I said, though, and I feel bad for the players because I know a lot of them, I would be in this boat as well. If I was a pro player and I spent my entire life just worrying about playing video games, I would have no idea when it comes to proper contract etiquette and negotiation.
I just feel like there's been so much talk about that though. Like
And
it's
that's
not you
where
can't be blind to it if you're a pro player at this point because it's tweeted on or talked about. We've seen it in Counter-Strike, we've seen it in Overwatch League.
But
Like we've
don't you
seen
think
it so much.
some of this falls on the org as well, of the team ownership? Because the players are your assets. You got to protect your assets here. You can't.
No, but like that's like kind of a wrong way to look at it because if we're going to compare it to traditional sports, the owner is not on the player's side necessarily, right? They are sitting on the opposite side of the table when it comes to negotiating this stuff. And so they want what's best for the players. I don't think that like any of these guys want their players to be put in bad situation. They want their players to be
Right.
taken care of. But they're also not the ones to probably be advocating for a players union. Like that might not
Right.
be in
I
their
just
best
wonder, like in
interest.
Chicago's case here, where you have Hex, who is like best friends with his players, right? They're all homies. They all hang out all the time. They share Christmas dinner together, right? They're the best of friends. And Hex and Scump, right? To the bromance and everything there. But then to have this is Hex like, whoa, but this is on you. I'm not touching this one. Not touching this. Like, I am now the owner. I'm not your friend, right? Like, I wonder where that relationship is at when something like this happens.
There's definitely some of those owners out there that you would expect to be looking out in the player's best interest in this particular
Right.
opportunity. Like there's a handful that come to mind that probably should or would do that. But again, we don't really know how this played out. Like I don't know, maybe Hex was doing it, but they told him that there's no choice also. Maybe that really did happen that
Right.
way. I just feel like there's like a little bit more to this because these personalities are too big to be trampled on this way. Like
Yeah.
I don't buy that either.
100%. And like I said, not to seem like I'm just bullying against the players and you should have known better. I 100% agree with everyone in the sentiment of if he wants to do a sponsored stream for a different game, like that shouldn't be like
Findable.
yeah, I understand frowned upon, right? I understand if the league, but again, it's not like he's going to go play Halo or Counter-Strike and then all of a sudden being like, wow, this is great. I'm going to quit Call of Duty now. Thanks, guys. See ya. Like, that's not how Call of Duty players or fans work. They are Call of Duty players. They have and always will be. Like, Halo Infinite coming out, I don't think is going to cause a dent in the Call of Duty scene. I don't think it for a second. They might share, right? But it's not like Call of Duty has anything to worry about on the console world to being dethroned.
No,
not a thing. So I think it's ridiculous that they're going to try to fine people for what they're doing on their streams in the sense of that, right?
At the end of the day, if I was a pro player and if you know what the fine amount is going to be, I'm sure there's some set amount, right? If you do this $10,000
Right.
fine, I would just be negotiating that within my my ad stream. Be like, hey, I'll stream your game. I'll take the fine. Whatever you're offering me, add 10K onto it, and that's the number.
I mean,
They should still keep doing it. They really should. Like That part I really hate. Like that feels very NCAA like.
Yeah.
Right? Like shit like that to me feels super petty, and you're so scared about your own you have like such a lack of confidence in your own product that like first of all, what freaking game is that he's even streaming? You
That's
know what
what,
I'm
like
saying? Like,
they're so worried about it, and yet like I'm like, well, look, guys, the joke's on the game because I still never heard of that game.
well, yeah, but like, why are you worried about Raid Shadow Legends? You know, like that stuff is just nonsense to me. And like, you want to see the big guy kind of get it. Like, you want to
Look,
see that somebody stick it to him. And I'm glad Seth came out and spoke this way.
when Tom Brady goes to a charity softball game and plays in a charity softball game, the NFL isn't freaking out that softball is all of a sudden just gonna Tom Brady's gonna retire to go play softball, and softball will all of a sudden become the new football because Tom Brady likes it. Like, that's not how it works. So if Scump wants to take a day off to play some whatever, right? PUBG or pick a different game, right? I don't think that has any effect on the league whatsoever.
No.
Stop shitting on the top talent, and even not even just top talent. Stop trying to bully your players into forcing them to paint this picture that everything's perfect.
Well, if you make it too shitty for somebody like Scump who's nearing the end of his career, and you force him into some sort of early retirement, maybe even if that's a year or two before he initially was planning on doing so, you are screwing yourself royally. The amount of power and just the fan base that is tied to some of these players is truly insane. If Scump decides to stream at the same time as one of your matches go live, I promise you his fans are going to go watch him. Even if he's streaming another game, they're not going to go watch CDL to watch OpTic play if Scump's streaming Warzone at the same time. Like, that's the kind of power that I feel like these players have. And again, I'm happy that Scump came out and did all of this. It needed to be said from somebody that has a powerful voice. Now let's see where this goes. Like, I think there will be a follow-up. If I had to guess, there will be a follow-up to this story within the next few weeks, and maybe a little bit more clarity around it where we can fill you guys in.
Yeah, and maybe now, right, if he was the only player before that held a player union back, maybe now this is what tips it over and says, okay, we need to have a player union. We need to have something that allows us to push back. And that's, I think, just eventually what's going to have to happen. So, just don't go to CS for help for a players union. Don't do what they did for their so-called players union. And I think we'll be in pretty good shape for Call of Duty. But man, what a way to kick off the new COD. What a way to kick off the Cold War era with some good old-fashioned COD drama.
It was all so good last week with OpTic coming back, and that was the feel good. 100
Everyone's
Thieves
so
entering the
happy.
scene. And now here we are a week later, and you forget that
The league was on
even playing for OpTic.
The league was on cloud 9. Everything was working out. New game. Treyarch is back. And then 3 days, even like the first 24 hours of the game, everyone, oh, this is great. 48 hours later, all the maps suck. There's no matchmaking. These guns are ridiculous. Have you seen the sniper rifles? It's so cyclical gaming. It's just amazing.
You know who else is not on Cloud9 right now, Tim? Cloud9.
It's a joke.
And let's kick off some e-news here.
Let's get into some e-news. I gotta find the button here real quick. Oh, there we go. Let's get into some e-news here as a segue into a new, just hilarious joke about Cloud9.
Hilarious.
So, for those who've kept up, Cloud9, we actually talked about it last episode with how crucial it was for Flashpoint that Cloud9 doesn't suck. And lo and behold, they suck.
Yeah, they do.
They
look bad right now. It's not over yet, but man, that is the worst possible start you could have had.
So they went 0-2. I think already ending their time for Flashpoint. Yep, already ending it, getting dead last for Flashpoint. Just as fast as the new Henry G era started, it was ended. He's still there, but it was a bumpy start. So they go 2-0 to VP and 2-0 to OG earlier today, thus eliminating them out of the
Let's say
event.
0-2. It sounds better.
0-2. Yeah. I guess that's proper. They went 0-2 against VP and OG. The VP match was their first one. Horrendous. Friday
Jamie
morning.
looked like a god in that game. He saved them on 5 or 6.
They made VP look good. Like, it made them look like old VP. And people are like, well, Cloud9, they're a newer roster, blah, blah, blah. I hate, it is such a crutch. I'm going to go in a little salt mine here. It is such a crutch, especially in Counter-Strike, when people say, well, they're a new roster. They're just a new roster, guys. Give them time. No, these were all supposed to be the top free agents, pulling guys over, paying them millions of dollars. This is the Colossus, right? Like, even Henry G was making the jokes. This is a new colossal team. There is no, well, they're a new roster. If you're going up against like Strawless or something like that, Fnatic, sure, you're a new roster. Work out your kinks. You're going up against VP and you get swept 2-0? No, you suck. There is no new roster.
I don't have a lot to add to that, honestly. Like, it's been a really crappy. It really could not have gone worse. The OG matchup, Alexi B is also making ENCE regret a lot of decisions, and I think these last 2 matches are probably making Henry G regret a few decisions. And
Henry G tweets out saying, in my opinion, the worst thing you could say. Like, he's just trying to me excuses. I know he was like, these aren't excuses. No, they're 100% excuses. But he was saying like, oh, it was a good effort. We almost had the reverse sweep. What do you mean you almost had a reverse? You mean you almost won one map? Is that what you meant? Like, you almost had a reverse sweep. You lost 2-0, bro.
Like, there was no almost reverse sweep.
No, you didn't. Like, you almost won a map.
You almost took a map. You almost made it competitive.
Yeah, you almost won a map that you had to first come back on. Like, please don't brag about almost coming back. Like, oh, we almost put up a good effort.
That's not how that works.
No. So, rough start, salty start for Cloud9 fans. I'm with you. I'm upset. The rational thinker in me says, hey, it's first event. Let's get things going. But the Cloud9 fan in me says, what the hell? This was
Cloud9 fan in you is like, let's drop floppy tomorrow.
Like, just blow it up. Get rid of Henry G. This isn't working. Restart everything. In Overwatch, the Dallas Fuel has finalized their roster. Anuj might be a little more difficult this season to get Dallas interviews, as in their open tryouts, they did say you must know how to speak Korean. And now we know why, because the Dallas Fuel has gone full Korean.
Don't they have like half the roster from like Paris or something?
They have a coach, maybe a player.
Couple players. I think.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, I think just given the racial stereotype, they are going to be a better team than what they were. It is fact in Overwatch League. The more Koreans you have, the better team you are.
Like, this should be at least automatic, like, playoff contention.
Yeah. So, might be null and voided when every team is going full Korean now, but, we'll see. It's exciting. I don't know how, like, diehard Fuel fans, well, I mean, we are diehard Fuel fans, don't get me wrong. I don't know how, like, other Fuel fans feel about having, like, a full Korean team. Like, I always know that's a hot topic of, like, oh, well, now how am I supposed to relate? But let me tell you what, winning helps. Winning helps
just
you
win, baby. That's it. That's all it is. Just win.
Winning helps you relate to the players quite well.
I don't care if I have 5 Koreans, 5 Chinese, 5 white boys, 5 Indians. Just
Right.
give me a winning
If
team
we
to cheer
win,
for.
if the Fuel win, I promise you will be best friends with those players. In COD, Vicstar will now be co-owner of London Royal Ravens.
God, he's so rich.
Am I dumb for not necessarily knowing who that is?
Huge European. Oh, I say European. He's European himself, but huge YouTuber.
Oh, that's why.
You know, he's the one that hosted the Vicstar 250K challenge. He's one of the better Warzone players. Like I believe his team has won 5 or 6 events now, but that's like 1% of what he's known for. Even prior to that, he's just one of the biggest YouTubers out there, gaming YouTubers out there.
It is fascinating how little I know of YouTube.
Fact, he's Indian.
Really? Can you
Brown.
get him on the show?
No.
Can you
not at
call
all.
him up right now?
Well, I'll call my aunties and uncles.
Like,
and see if
like,
there's
do
any
you
relation.
know? Does that connect that way?
Yeah, possibly. That's how I started off my DM to him. Hey, I'm brown too.
Hey. Hello, fellow brown friend.
Happy the volley.
Our aunts might know each other somewhere down the line. Would you like to come on the podcast? In league news, Fnatic is to sign Niski as Niski as mid laner.
Which that's big because you kind of wonder what's going on with the whole Reckles situation over there. Like there's talk that he may not be on the team anymore. I know there's another player that they either just signed or about to sign. But you're seeing some changes come across EU and NA. Like definitely some big changes are coming.
And speaking of a possible big change to NA side, is Carlos has confirmed Perk's departure and clarifies that it was his decision. Perk's decision.
Perk's decision. Yeah, he said that if Perks wanted to retire on G2, he has the ability to do so, and he knows that. But Perks is looking for a new change, new challenge, whatever it may be, and pretty much confirmed his departure. So
now it's just where.
Yep. Where? Who's the $5 million team? Let's see.
Let's get that Cloud9 Stratus in there or whatever. And last e-news here. Explain this one.
I wanted to make this a yikes almost for PS5. We just talked about the console release that's happening last week. We were having a tough time picking a winner. And so that's why I wanted to throw this in there. Like, who's the winner of the two? Well, Xbox just announced that in their latest update, you can now run Warzone and all that at 120 FPS. That's like huge to be able to do that compared to the 60 or whatever you're playing on the PS5. The fact that that's not like a standard thing on those consoles is quite depressing, frankly. But that to me, if you guys are looking for somebody that I would say is a winner right now, that to me is a huge edge over the competition.
I did see Clayster tweet out. It was pretty funny that they were playing against people. It might have been in a match or whatever, right? But against people that were on PlayStation, and they're obviously on PC, right, using a controller. And they were able on PC to load in the match and get to the other team's spawn before one of the guys using a PlayStation spawned in. Like
not surprising.
Was,
Clayster's using a $4,000 PC.
Yeah,
not more,
right. Like not
know?
only is he on PC, but he's also like not playing on like any old PC. It's like top of the line. So
yeah,
I did get a chuckle out of that and said, that's console life for you. That is the console life for you. All right. And speaking of, that is the end of this episode life. Episode 288. It's done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. If you watched on stream, hopefully the internet on my side, looks like no dropped frames this time around. So nothing like a good old stream reset won't fix. We will be back Wednesday. Documentary, the League of Legends one. I'll tweet it out to remind everyone on Netflix. So literally just remembered that. So Anuj, remind me to remind you to watch it before next show.
I will set a reminder to remind you to remind me.
Yep. Yeah, good times. We'll be back Wednesday, talk about that League of Legends documentary on Netflix. Forget the name, but I'll find it out. And some more action. We have First Strike EU, I think, is starting that day as well for the closed qualifiers. So we'll see that. and more fun esports action. Maybe Scump gets fined again for something. I'm sure. We'll keep it up. We'll keep everyone up to date.
And Vicstar will be joining us next Wednesday.
Yes. Yep. Anuja's fifth cousin removed, Vicstar, will join us. So for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.